Kyle, you good?
I'm here now.
You actually look clearer now. It's weird.
That's good.
No, that's pretty funny.
You know what the fuck I do?
Hello, and welcome back to DreamHack Tonight and this week's edition of Release Radar. We're going to do things a little bit differently. We're usually talking about upcoming games, but since pretty much all the big titles have come out, Game Awards have announced all their Game of the Year type stuff, we're going to talk about our favorite games from 2020. How are you, Kyle?
Cyberpunk.
That's favorite games that released in 2020, Kyle.
Released games. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, damn it. I'm great, but I just want Cyberpunk to come out.
Yeah. Well, it could be Game of the Year for 2021 at this rate. So,
maybe.
But otherwise, what have you been playing all week?
I have actually been playing a lot of the Black Ops. No, not Black Ops. Cold War. That's the new one. Zombies. Love that game. So much fun. Getting around 25 all by myself. So much fun.
Nice. Well, we're supposed to play together with other DreamHack employees soon, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, so this week's edition of Release Radar, we were talking about all our favorite games from this year. There was a lot when you think about it, and probably because of COVID, we had more time than usual to be able to play them all. And I'm kind of excited because I actually have like 4 different games between my consoles that I really want to dive into. So it's going to be a busy holiday season stuck at home. So I'm going to be happy about that. But for this, we each decided on 5 favorite games, and then a couple other mentions like Cyberpunk for next year's edition. But as of now, we're going to kick it right off. PlayStation 5 just came out, and I spent all of last weekend playing it nonstop, just getting a feel for that new console feel. And my number 5 pick is Astro's Playroom. It's a game. It's one of the first games in a very long time to come built in or come with the system for PlayStation 5. And it was a love letter to everyone's favorite PlayStation franchises. It had all these little Astrobot characters, kind of like the Minions, all over scattered, but some were dressed up like Kratos from God of War and, filming stuff. So it's a super fun game, but it also really shows you how next gen the PlayStation 5 controller is. So I beat it in about 6 hours. I even platinum trophied it in about 7 or so. And I thought it was probably one of the best short experiences for a game and shows you what next generation's capable of, especially with the haptic feedback of the controllers.
Pretty cool that a game that came with the controller technically was able to make your list. My number 5 was 2 Point Hospital. Did you see this one? Did you know what this one was, Alex? This one's where you
never even heard of it. No,
it's a simulation game, and I'm a huge fan of simulation games. But you get to run your own hospital, but it's not serious hospital. It's a bit lighthearted in the sense of what you would get to do. So when someone comes in with lightheadedness, they come in with a light bulb on their head, or they have like clown syndrome, where they actually come in like a clown. Your doctors have to go through the whole diagnosis process, but really fun game. If you like simulation games, check this one out for sure. Super simple and sweet and cute. I really enjoyed this game. Actually made by Sega too.
Right. Sounds like Operation, but for the new generation. So,
yeah.
My number 4, a very popular multiplayer game, Fall Guys. This kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't know about it until PS Plus said this is our free game for the next month from Devolver Digital, who we've talked about a lot on our past indie shows. And it just blew everyone away. It was so much fun. I don't play it as much as I did when it first came out, but their marketing team took a like 10,000 follower account into 1.5, 1.6 million now already, just based on dank memes and all kinds of stuff. But the game itself was frustrating, but also fun. And I wish they would come out with private lobbies, but bar none, having so much fun with friends. I entered actually a couple of online events for it. So that game will be a very memorable game that I think is going to set the tone for battle royales in a more actiony kind of way and survival. And just blown away by how much fun it was. Hopefully it'll last into next year with popularity, but Fall Guys definitely on top of my list.
The memes from Fall Guys are going to live on like ancient hieroglyphics from Egypt. Those things are going to be timeless. My number 4, actually, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, is Call of Duty Cold War. Just came out. These games are always my favorite. I will admit this one's a little bit buggier, but it's also a year earlier than I anticipated this franchise to be coming back around in the Call of Duty series. But it's got all the things I love in it, and you can even go back and play Warzone with your old friends if you want to keep Modern Warfare installed on your computer. So really solid entry into the Russians and the US, 80s Cold War era kind of thing. But the zombies, again, is why I'm here for this game. And it's damn good right now. Almost flawless, other than a few bugs.
I started playing Cold War. I feel like last year was just Modern Warfare, and that Call of Duty multiplayer kind of spoiled us. I think that was the pinnacle of just so much variety. So Cold War is taking me a little bit longer to warm up to. But my number three, another PlayStation exclusive. Now it's funny because this is Spider-Man Miles Morales, which is a standalone. But I think if PlayStation 5 wasn't launching, it just would have been an update to last year's Marvel's Spider-Man, which in its right was awesome. But Miles Morales takes it to the next level. They're saying in the comic book world and pop culture world that Miles Morales is actually just as popular now overnight as Peter Parker in terms of lore from Spider-Man. And playing on my PS5 on a 4K TV looks just incredible to just fly around as Spider-Man. And the story is great. Miles Morales has more family infighting than Peter Parker's story arc. But the game itself, I'm actually still working on about 8 hours in. It's a shorter title, but in terms of showing what the PlayStation 5 is going to bring in the future and just having fun, man, being Spider-Man, like ever since the Spider-Man 2 game, it's one of the best hero games that they keep building upon and making. And Miles Morales kind of takes it to the next level with all these different characters. So that one's definitely my number three.
I hope they continue to use that as like a test bed to break into other superhero games, because we needed a solid game for that. And this is that entry, I feel like, for superheroes to really have that great game. But super excited to see where that franchise goes. My number three is actually a game that I've been playing on mobile, The Last Campfire. It's a puzzle game overall, but it's got a really cool story, beautiful art style. Everything about this game is just fantastic. And it explores a lot of themes that are not something that I would say are every day. So going through the story of exploring what I feel like are the themes of depression and getting stuck in a rut in your life. And, going through 2020, we've felt that a lot this year. So this game has been a constant reminder of just keep pushing, keep going, keep moving forward. And I really appreciate that about a simple little mobile game that I was able to grab on Apple Arcade.
Nice. And then my number two, actually, I it kind of went past my radar because I actually am a huge fan of Supergiant Games, and Hades was my number two that I was late to the party, but man, it's a roguelite like no other. They basically built upon the perfection of Bastion and Transistor and Pyre and made one of the best roguelite games I've ever played, to where as soon as you beat it, you want to just jump right back in because every single game is a completely different randomized situation. You can kind of get boons, as they call it, and upgrades that kind of plan your path out. But it's a super challenging game. It took me about everyone's average of like 18 to 20 runs to beat it for the first time. And then you discover you got to beat it 10 more times to get the real ending. So it's a game that speedrunners have been having fun with. But the soundtrack's amazing, which is on Spotify. Only $20. That game's worth $60 easily because I spent about 30 hours straight in the first 2 weeks of playing it. And, just excited to see what they do. I just hope Supergiant Games does multiplayer with these kind of roguelites. And I think that would just be incredible to have a totally randomized situation with your friends every round and then go, what did you get? What did I, and kind of play off of that. But Hades, was almost number one, but just was too damn good.
And, hi, Tifa. And my number two is actually Doom Eternal. This was one from earlier in the year, and everything about this game just had a satisfying feel to it. Going through and being that badass space marine god dude, whatever you end up feeling like you are in that moment, just destroying all the demons around you, the badass soundtrack that came along with this. This game just had all the right pieces to feel that a bit more shooty side of a game that I was really looking for this year, and it felt great to play through this thing and beat it. Very rewarding process. And then going back through and trying to get the completionist on it, I also haven't been dragged back that way by a game in a while, and it really did drag me back to get that 100% on it.
All right. Well, so far we've talked about our favorites from this year, but now we have a bunch of honorable mentions. It was actually really hard to nail down a top 5 list. So we're going to rapid fire a couple of our other favorites and explain why. I'm just going to name all of mine to start. Doom Eternal, you just mentioned that. Super awesome. I love the 2016 version of it. And it just looks great. I actually just played it again on my Xbox Series X. And just to have that big screen experience and the music and just they've really nailed it bringing back Doom, because that's, a historic game across the board. Another one, it was basically an update with about 30 hours of content. Persona 5 Royal, a PlayStation exclusive, super long game. That game takes about 140 hours to complete if you want to accomplish everything. But one of the greatest role-playing games of all time. That, if you haven't played any of the other Personas, basically about students in high school and their interactions with a underworld and the real world and just going back and forth. But the fight scenes and the presentation of it, the art style is just something to behold. And if you haven't played Persona 5, just get the Royal, which is the updated version, and trust me, it's going to keep you busy through the holidays. Then a beat 'em up, nostalgia is always king. Streets of Rage 4, huge game, part of my childhood, along with Final Fight. But Streets of Rage was the the Sega Genesis, while Final Fight was the arcade and the other systems. And they nailed it. They brought back all that nostalgia. They added full on long-winded combos to the game. You could play as the old sprites in the newer version of the graphics, but Streets of Rage, like they just nailed it from a smash beat 'em up game. And that you could play multiplayer with up to 4 people co-op, and I was very impressed how they brought back, because sometimes when they bring back these old franchises, they don't do them any justice, but Streets of Rage 4 definitely did. Then Crash Bandicoot 4, I just started playing that. If you don't remember Crash Bandicoot from the original PlayStation days, one of the greatest, very simple and linear platformer, 3D platformers on a kind of like a rails for every level. But the new one, they brought back all the great things that made it great, and then God, all the challenges of all the new age games like Celeste and all those other games where you're going to keep dying until you figure out where everything is hidden. And then my number one honorable mention, I liked it. I kind of had reserved feelings about playing it after all the leaks and stuff, but I played the first one, I played the spin-off. But Last of Us Part 2, huge game. It's up for Game of the Year award, and it's probably going to win just based on the quality and the acting and everything that they had in that game. But it's a hard experience, for some people, especially with the real life tones in there and what happens that I can't spoil for you if you haven't played it. But those are my honorable mentions that, if you didn't like any of the other games, at least one of those I'm sure you've either played or loved.
In my honorable mentions for 2020, the one that kind of kicked us off into the pandemic period is Animal Crossing. That game was so perfectly poised to come out right as we were all stuck to spend a bunch of time at home. And I feel like everyone got to dive into their Animal Crossing island as much as they wanted to for that initial, at least, month. And it was kind of a nice escape, considering that a lot of people aren't used to being stuck at home. And that change of routine was very dramatic for a lot of us. And Animal Crossing just kept that happy, leisurely lifestyle alive while we were all trying to figure out what was going to come down the line for us. Another one that I enjoyed, another mobile game actually, is What the Golf. This game surprised me. I sat down to play it for the first time, and you go through some of the levels, and by the time that you are no longer hitting a ball with a club, and it just progresses into all kinds of different things that you can smack down a golf course and try to make it a golfing experience. Amazing. This is so off the wall and zany. I loved every level that they created on this game, and I would always be looking forward to the next one that they produced. So, mobile games have actually been pretty prevalent for me this year, but taking it back to a little bit of the like nostalgia feel, which 2020 has been a full year of remakes and reboots and re-releases from like the Final Fantasies all the way to was it Demon Souls that also got a really kick-ass remake for the PS5. Halo 3, and actually just recently Halo 4 as well, but Halo 3 was one of them that I was really looking forward to being remastered for the Master Chief Collection. And this game is incredible. I love all the MCC stuff. Halo was a big part of my early days of trudging my own way in gaming, so I really appreciate going back and playing this and all of its current day glory that they can actually give us. And these things are just beautiful. Absolutely so much fun to go back and play with my friends.
It's crazy. When Master Chief Collection came out at first, it was a horrible, had so many issues, and then now it's bounced back and people are still getting excited, especially with ODST. And now Halo 3, I actually just downloaded, God, I think it's like a 210 gig total file now when you move it over to the Xbox Series X with their smart delivery. But it looked awesome, actually. Even looking at the older ones and just the cutscenes, like I can't wait to play through them all again. But Halo is a huge part of my life as well growing up. So
yeah, it's weird to think that we're from the Xbox to Xbox 360 to Xbox One and now the Series X with Halo on all of them. That's just so incredible that those generations have been able to be moved forward and preserved on these new Gen F consoles.
Yeah, and who knows if Halo Infinite didn't get delayed, that could have been on this list today, right?
I know, right? I wish it was the top of mine.
They need a new game soon. Gears of War can only last so long between Halos and stuff, so I'm looking forward to that. But back to our main list. This number one is basically why I'm probably in the gaming industry, or at least one of the reasons. But Final Fantasy VII Remake for me, it was a huge deal when it came out. one of the greatest role-playing games of all time, in my opinion, and many people's opinions, unless they didn't play it. And then the soundtrack was incredible. But when Remake was announced, we were all excited on nostalgia. But they're like, we're going to change the battle system, and we didn't know what to expect. And then when they announced that Remake will be episodic and we're going to have, multiple versions of it, the whole internet RPG world was like, what? They're going to spread this out. It's not going to be worth it. And I remember reviews were great. Game came out. Everyone's like, I'm not buying this game. It's only part one of whatever. And I'm like, guys, you better play this game. I have specific friends that I played it and I was blown away. Yes, it wasn't the full game that you remember because they are splitting it up. But that first part of Remake was like 35 hours of the greatest experience I've had in many years in video games. And so many people are like, no, I'm not going to give into the hype. I'm going to wait till all of them come out, which could be freaking 10 years from now, knowing Square Enix. And then some of them started playing like, why did I wait so long, and regretting missing out. But hands down, one of the greatest games ever made was brought back, and it's even better now. So I'm excited to see what they do in the future with that game. But especially if you never played the original, it's a game that you could pick up and start to learn about why Final Fantasy VII will always be a lot of gamers' favorite games.
When you think about the limitations in storytelling that they had back then for games, Final Fantasy, the fact that it even exists today to be remade, it was such a grandiose idea then, and it still is a massive idea and undertaking to make these games properly. And I'd rather see them do this right and do it the way that they envisioned, hopefully, to do it from the very beginning, but we're not able to because of the limitations. So very cool to see that Final Fantasy is still kicking ass and taking names in your book.
Yep.
So for me, I'm a bit of an aviation nerd, so Flight Sim is up there as my number one because this game is just incredible. I talked about it a lot before it came out and did a lot of research behind it. And there's so much about this thing that is just so bleeding edge in technology. It has incredible crossover into the aviation world and real life application. And I know even there's talk around the office about people that have really gotten into this, going out and getting their pilot's licenses when they can. And it's just that good of a game. And the fact that you can fly over your house and go fly over some of the places in the world that you may not ever be able to go, all from the comfort of right in front of your computer, incredible. This game is going to be a test bed for the future of real life simulation in ways that I don't even think we comprehend yet. So I'm super excited for Flight Sim to turn into Cyberpunk one of these days, but that'll be at least 2022 or 2077 by then.
Who knows? But Flight Sim, I played it at my computer with an ultra wide. I was like, this is gonna be exciting. And it just chugged along trying to put it together in the highest res. But I flew over my house, but Disney World and the theme parks weren't in there. So it's disappointing. Obviously, I think they're like additional DLC, but Flight Sim, especially with all the shortages in electronics and stuff this year, flight sticks were like off the charts twice, three times the price when that game. Yeah, I actually have one from Ace Combat that I used for my Star Wars Squadrons, and maybe I should sell this to the Flight Sim players out there that will probably pay $200-$300. Yeah. So I would never charge my friend more than, or at least more than double or triple.
$400 or $500 for me. Thank you.
Yeah, no, looking back, this year was incredible for video games. I'm excited for the future. You kind of get worn out as you get older, and then a new console comes out, and then everyone steps it up, and then you're like, God, what else can they do? And then they keep doing it. And Oculus Quest 2, not needing wires, its own standalone VR is kind of a testament to how VR is still in the mainstays. So, but yeah, let us know what you thought of this list. I know a lot of these will be on people's list, but also some we might not have heard of. So, as always, thank you for tuning in to DreamHack edition of Release Radar. I'm Alex Jebailey. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and let us know what are your favorite games from 2020.
And I'd like to thank our sponsors, Blue Microphone, Astro Gaming, and Simply Nuck for your continued support of our shows.
Take care. Good luck, Cyberpunk.